Hi, we're back again. Yes, welcome along to the transfer show. Premier League clubs have today hit spending of £1.8 billion this summer, and there's still more than 3 weeks to go. Our football correspondent Rob Dorset, reporter Dharmesh Sheth here to dissect and discuss the day's top story. Alexander Isak's future is far more uncertain, and Eddie Howe has banished the player from training with the first team at Newcastle and also the club barbecue. Alexander Isak is training away from the first team squad. So how does this one play out? Well, our reporter Keith Downey has the latest.
Tonight's meeting between Eddie Howe and Alexander Isak, for the first time since both men returned from their pre-season training camps, will be crucial to that. Without doubt, Eddie Howe is disappointed with the conduct of his star striker, travelling to Spain on his own individual training camp instead of being with the rest of the squad on their tour of Asia. And the fact that Eddie Howe found that out through the media, I think, is the most galling thing of all. Howe's response was today to tell Isak to turn up to report at 4 o'clock for a meeting and for his own individual training and recuperation, while the rest of the squad throughout the day had their families in for a team bonding session. So it was interesting to see Isak arrive today at 4 o'clock just as the rest of the players were leaving. Isak, the only player uninvited. But where does it leave the Isak situation? Well, we've been telling you all along that Newcastle will not allow him to leave without a replacement. Benjamin Sesko was supposed to be that man. It looks as though he's headed for Manchester United. So I can foresee a situation where Alexander Isak starts the season in the black and white of Newcastle unless they have another potential striker signing up their sleeve.
Keith Downey there. Right, Rob, why don't they just cash in now and get someone else?
What, cash in on Isak?
Yeah.
Because they don't want him to go.
But he's really unhappy.
He is at the moment.
He's not even allowed to go to the barbecue.
Yeah, I quite fancy going to Newcastle's family barbecue. It sounds like it was probably quite a good day. Listen, I totally get what you're saying, but it's not that simple, is it? You have to look at the fact that Alexander Isak has ingrained himself into that Newcastle squad. He is fundamental to it now. He's their most important player. Newcastle don't want to throw that away and try and start again and try and integrate a new striker. But I think you have to ask, with all the number of strikers that have moved this summer, how many are left for Newcastle to go for? Certainly nobody of Alexander Isak's quality. And so from their perspective, as hard as it may be to reintegrate him, if he's really disappointed and has his heart set on moving to Liverpool, if he's causing problems within the squad, which we don't know that he is, we just know that he's training separately from that, and clearly Eddie Howe has been upset with the way he's conducted himself. I mean, this is Alexander Isak arriving at training today again, training on his own at 4 o'clock. He arrived as the rest of the players were leaving.
That's got to hurt, hasn't it?
It's got to hurt, and it's going to be difficult to reintegrate it. But, you know, which strikers are potentially available? Nicholas Jackson is available at Chelsea, we expect. Having
shed loads of money.
£80 million doesn't sound good value to me. I can't believe that Chelsea would expect that as a fee for Nicholas Jackson going forward. Now they've got João Pedro in, now they've got Liam Delap in. I think they would be a bit more realistic than that, if I'm honest with you. But look, that's what we're being told that they want for him. And I can't see Newcastle paying £80 million for Nicholas Jackson, getting 120 for Alexander Isak and saying, hey, we've got a good deal there. So it's not easy for Newcastle. Look at the players they've missed out on this season. In the attacking departments, they like Liam Delap. He went to Chelsea for £30 million, an absolute snip. João Pedro, they were negotiating seriously for him with Brighton. He went to Chelsea as well.
And what a start he's made there.
Absolutely. Hugo Ekitike went to Liverpool. He was very much on Newcastle's radar. Mateus Cunha and Brian Mbeumo both went to Manchester United. Newcastle wanted them as well. And now it looks like they're going to miss out on Sesko. I think that just shows how difficult a job it is. If you're Newcastle with Champions League football and Eddie Howe at the helm, having finished fifth on the up, and you can't attract these players because they want to go elsewhere, then I've got huge sympathy for Newcastle because it's a difficult market for them.
Really is. If you're on the Liverpool side of things, you probably think, yeah, it's great, we get Isak, it's fantastic. Well, Jamie Carragher joined the debate, and he's questioned how signing Isak alongside Hugo Ekitike would actually work. Now, this is what he said. When you have a top striker like Isak, Haaland, Kane, it's very difficult to have quality backup, as they always play. 80 million is too much to pay for backup. Where does Ekitike get his minutes in his position? not fudging it by putting him on the left. Hard to play together when you've spent 115 million on Wirtz. And yes, we do need to buy more attackers, he said. He's right, isn't he?
He is right, but look, I'd never disagree with Jamie Carragher, who knows Liverpool.
But you're just about to.
Well, a little bit, because he calls it a fudge if he plays him out on the left. I'm not sure it is, if I'm honest with you, because Ekitike has played there on 9 occasions in the last couple of seasons. He's played quite a lot of minutes there. It suits him attacking off the left. Even when he plays as a striker, he tends to drift back wide to the left anyway. He's quite a mobile striker. He doesn't just sit up top as a target man. And so if it could well be that Arne Slot's thinking about that, using him on the left-hand side. And imagine that, with him on the left, Alexander Isak down the middle, and Mo Salah on the right. With Wirtz, by the way, probably as a number 10 or an attack, with Wirtz behind them. There is no better attacking unit than that in the Premier League.
Is there an argument, though, that, and Darmesh come in on this as well, that actually Arne Slot's side won the Premier League at a canter last season. Now he's got all his toys, he's getting all these players in, and they might actually be too many, like Jamie's hinted at.
I don't think you can have too many quality players, and there's going to be so many competitions that these big clubs are going to be involved in. They're going to have to rotate the squad anyway, and it will be good for Arne Slot to be able to play in different ways as well if he wants to, with these different players. Sometimes, I mean, we're talking like if Isak comes, but we should just row back on that a little bit because he's still a Newcastle United player. So, but the fact that they've got a player like Ekitike, the fact that they've got attacking talent like Salah and Wirtz, and they're in the market maybe to bring in someone like Isak, I think it's just ominous for the rest of the league. Jamie Carragher says, you know, they don't need him, but if they want him and they can do the deal, why not? I think look at the competition for places they'll have.
It's a really interesting debate at the moment because Arsenal have had a fantastic window so far, brought in 5 quality players, and yet I would argue they've fallen further behind Liverpool in the terms of their squad quality. I didn't expect Liverpool to spend the money they have and bring in the quality of players they've had as the reigning champions of the Premier League. I didn't feel necessarily that they needed to. But if you look at what they've done in attacking areas, Diaz out, Nunez close to going by the sounds of things. They brought in Ekitike, Wirtz and maybe Alexander Isak as well. Whew, that's good business, and I think it takes them further.
We should also very, very quickly just calm for a second. Season hasn't started. We don't know what's going to happen.
About what? What are you talking about?
We don't know what's going to happen. Who's to say that Arsenal are going to be weaker than Liverpool until we see them next season? That's when we start judging, because you can win a window but lose a season.
And we've talked a lot about that in terms of the strikers that have moved into the Premier League this summer. Who's got the best deal? Who's got the best player? Is Gyökeres a better option than Sesko? You know, is Ekitike a better option than Isak? You know, all of these debates are what every single football fan in this country is talking about right now. And you're right, we'll only find out when they're on the pitch. Is potential better than experience? You know?
I definitely want to get into Arsenal's window a bit later. But before that, will Liverpool be done whether or not they get Isak, Darmesh?
Incomings?
Yeah.
I mean, I think they still might be looking out for a central defender, maybe another midfielder. So, look, they've spent a lot of money, but they also sell really well as well. We're talking about Darwin Nunez leaving. We're talking about Harvey Elliott potentially going as well. RB Leipzig are in talks, but look at these deals that they've done in this transfer window. When it comes to sales, we keep talking about how much money Liverpool are spending, but they are a fantastically run club. They even got £10 million for Trent Alexander-Arnold, which, well, let's be honest, a year ago you would have said that was bad business, but when you found out he's going to be a free agent and you end up getting £10 million for a month to go to Real Madrid, that's not bad. Kevin Kelleher, people could argue that that's quite a good deal for Brentford because he could have gone for more than £18 million all in. But then, you know, the likes of Jarrell Quansah, who wasn't going to disturb the first 2 choice centre-backs, 35 million by Leverkusen. Luis Diaz is the one that stands out for me. Quality player, admittedly, but they've made money on him, and he was 28 years old going on 29. And Tyler Morton, £15 million. Richard Hughes, since he's become sporting director at Liverpool, and it's a big if, they do sell Darwin Núñez to Al Hilal. If, and it's a big if, Harvey Elliott does get sold to RB Leipzig, then you're looking at sales totaling close to £300 million since he came in.
Yeah, they've done well.
And just to update you on
Rob.
Núñez, by the way, because Darmish has mentioned him there. Yes, I think you're right. Harvey Elliott is still in the very early stages, might not happen. It looks like Núñez's move to Al Hilal is happening now. Fee agreed. We expect him to have a medical in the next few days. £46.2 million fee agreed, which could rise to £56 million. So again, another really good deal for Liverpool if they can get that one over the line.
To angle in on this. Let's go to Keith Downey, who's at Newcastle for us. Keith, it looks like Newcastle are going to miss out on Šeško. Does that mean Alexander Isak stays?
Look, I wouldn't say that's a definite, Mike. We see the situation with Alexander Isak, and look, it's not good, is it? You see him arriving today. This feels a real frostiness behind the scenes. Eddie Howe said he found out that Alexander Isak had travelled to Spain for his individual training camp while the rest of the squad were on their pre-season tour of Asia. He found out through the media. So that's not gone down with the Newcastle boss, and that is why he has done what he's done today, which I'll get on to in a second. But with regards to Isak and a replacement, Newcastle do not want to lose Isak unless they get a replacement in. Now, it feels as though they're running out of options. The replacement was supposed to be Hugo Ekitike, ironically, of course. He went to Liverpool. One of the other replacements was supposed to be Liam Delap. He, of course, went to Chelsea. And then the replacement was supposed to be Benjamin Sesko, and it looks as though he's on his way to Manchester United. So it's been a bruising summer for Newcastle. They've missed out in a number of positions to multiple players, and it's been really difficult for them to take. And just interesting listening to you guys talking about it there, with a season ahead where they're in the Champions League and they're off the back of their first ever trophy win in 70 years. It's incredible how difficult this summer has been for them off the back of that. This was supposed to be the summer where they had money to spend and they were set to strengthen for the season ahead. But the Alexander Isak situation is so intriguing because he flew back on Saturday, a day and a half before the rest of the squad. He trained on Monday on his own. He trained yesterday on his own. The rest of the players were off. Eddie Howe and the first team squad were back today for the first time since returning from Asia early on Monday morning. And Eddie Howe took the power back into his hands, and he said, Alexander, don't turn up with the rest of the players to train at 10 o'clock this morning. I want you in at 4 o'clock this afternoon. And Alexander Isak has turned up at the training ground here just over an hour ago, 10 to 4 it was. He pitched up 10 minutes ahead of schedule for his own individual. Is he training? I don't know. Is he recovering from that thigh injury he cited as the reason why he missed the trip to Asia? We're not too sure. Or is he just meeting Eddie Howe? But he was told to report at 4 o'clock today. And ironically, he arrived, Mike, just as the rest of the Newcastle players were leaving, because Eddie Howe put on a team bonding session today for all the players, their families, wives and partners, and all their children to come in and enjoy. It's something they do fairly regularly. I remember them having one last summer as well, but I think the timing of this very interesting. A team bonding session on the back of what we've seen and the conduct from Alexander Isak these last 2 weeks, in which every player was invited, all their family and their children, and the only one not invited was Alexander Isak. And just the juxtaposition of Isak arriving at just 10 to 4 today, just as the rest of the players were leaving, was a very strange sight. And I think it showed just exactly how Eddie Howe feels about the situation. So will he remain a Newcastle United player? He could yet be wearing black and white come the start of the season, absolutely. Or could Newcastle look elsewhere to try and find a ready-made replacement for Alexander Isak? They thought Benjamin Sesko was that man. It feels like they're running out of options.
Keith, yeah, thank you very much. Seems brutal, that, doesn't it? Like he's on the naughty step.